Hello, everyone. My name is Anil Sedha, and I am here today with our latest episode of Tech Tomorrow. So, usually I try to talk a lot about cloud technologies or SaaS or startups. Today I'm going to mix it up and I'm going to go on to the Microsoft's EA shakeup. What it means for your business, how to transition from an EA to something else. Let's talk about it. So, in the latest tech trends, what's happening these days is a major shift in Microsoft's licensing model. There's a huge impact on companies, but who does really get impacted? If you're not familiar with Microsoft's enterprise agreement, let me tell you that customers 500 employees and up were part of Microsoft's EA in the past. And over the last little while, specifically last year, Microsoft came up with an announcement that there's going to be a change in the licensing model. The licensing model was such that if you are a customer between 500 users or licenses and up to 2,399 users, so essentially anything less than 2,400, you were not going to be part of the EA. So that's the new concept of smaller EA customers being offloaded onto a different licensing model. Now, many companies in Canada specifically are going to be affected by this. Most organizations are also going to be affected in a way that they didn't imagine or didn't anticipate because traditionally EA was your go-to strategy if you were 500 employees and up. Like you just come, organizations just loved it. You could true up your licenses. You had a fixed defined cost. You know what you could pay over 3 year cycle or so. But that's going to change. So if you are an organization that was relying on EAs, you need to transition to a new model. And that shift is now put in motion. A lot of new renewals that are coming up for the EAs are getting disrupted. So I'm going to touch on a few different aspects of this. So one thing is who's affected and why. So, as I already mentioned, if you are an enterprise less than 2,400 seats, you are the primary target or the primary organization that's going to be affected. Why is Microsoft doing it? Essentially, it is to optimize and better deliver their services. So, from Microsoft's standpoint, there's a lot of merits to this. And anybody who's handled Microsoft licensing will understand why there is merit in doing something like this. Microsoft is also majorly pushing towards the cloud solution program. So the CSP, as most customers know by now, or organizations know by now, is a more scalable, flexible subscription model. It's not like the EA, it's different, and I'm going to touch on some of those aspects. But EAs were primarily built for massive organizations with long-term contracts. But many mid-sized organizations found them appealing, but they were also a little bit rigid and complex as you came down in the number of users. By shifting customers to CSP, Microsoft is now streamlining its licensing approach because smaller businesses or smaller enterprises, I should say, not businesses, smaller enterprises, don't really need all of the capabilities of an EA program. They actually find it in some ways even expensive. And every year or every 3 years when or 5 years when the renewal is up, there's this ongoing back and forth between the account manager and your organization and the budgeting cycle to either consolidate licenses or do something with it. So CSP program is supposed to address that. It's going to be the new go-to model for businesses that are under the 2,500 seat model or the user mark model. It's going to be a subscription-based model, not like your annual contract that you're used to under the EA. And there is flexibility in it because companies can pay only what they need, and there is a scale up and scale down approach. And again, it depends on what type of licensing model you choose. But unlike the EA, where the contract is a fixed amount over multiple years, here you have either a monthly cycle or an annual cycle, which technically works for many companies, but you also have a hybrid approach. So you can mix a few monthly licenses and you can mix the annual licenses so you can get the best of both breeds. And if you need more over time, you can adjust because workforce changes keep happening all the time, and you do need flexibility. So in here, a more direct relationship with a Microsoft Cloud partner is going to be the buzzword. So previously, Microsoft licensing partners more did more transactional business versus partnership or collaboration business. Whereas with a CSP program, that changes because a partner like ESTI, for example, can provide hands-on support to onboard customers from an EA agreement to a CSP agreement. All the same Microsoft services, but with greater agility. Now, CSP is designed by default, and I've been using the CSP program for a few years now through Cloud Genie. So I'm very familiar with the CSP program. In fact, I was one of the early adopters on that front. So in that sense, CSP program makes it easier to adopt Microsoft licensing from a on-premise standpoint or a hybrid cloud platform standpoint. There's licenses that allow you to have desktop applications, and there's licensing that allows you to only have cloud-based applications, and you can choose. And there's frontline worker licenses also. So for companies or organizations that have frontline workers, let's say healthcare or customer-facing retail organizations or something of that kind, you can actually choose to go to more cost-effective model, which is more flexible and gives you more value for your licensing as well. Whereas an EA did not offer that flexibility, but it was feature rich in the sense of what it gave. So if your EA is coming close to an expiration or will come close to an expiration, let's say 6 months from now or about a year from now, you're better off to start planning because trust me, time flies. And then when you are very near in terms of making the transition, you will be forced to just pick the option that you have to pick in a urgent rush. But in a as so ESTI specifically offers a Microsoft assessment service, and we have this assessment service that I'm going to share. But I'm going to focus more on the topic itself, which is why CSP, right? So there is a need to assess expiring or current licensing needs. You may not be using everything that you are licensed for today, or you may be underutilizing some capabilities and you're missing some capabilities that you do want to use to grow your business. You're locked in, you don't want extra costs, so you kind of cut corners. Engaging with a cloud partner will make the process more seamless, and there's no choice, you have to. I mean, this is not something where I'm trying to make a sales pitch. You have to engage a cloud partner, and ESTI is a trusted Microsoft cloud partner working with many customers, huge customers also. And as I like to say, ESTI is a smaller IT provider working with very large clients. So which tells you the it's a testimony to the quality of services or the advisory services and the relationship. So there's a need to plan the migration of these licenses also. So you could do a gradual transition, or you can just move everything at once when it's close to your renewal date. And the option of being with a CSP allows you to have a little bit more flexibility. For example, not only are you going through a full licensing strategy review, optimizing your licenses, but you're also identifying what helps you in your strategic roadmap. So let's say in your organization there is an ERP upgrade planned, there is a cloud services implementation planned, or you're doing a cloud first strategy going forward now, or you're even doing basic, for example, partial or full remote support or remote teams concept. So in that sense, you want to understand what mix of licenses would work best for you. You can't just go and hand pick any licenses because it would be more expensive. So planning that migration is important, but more importantly, optimizing the costs with that is equally important. So leveraging that, there are additional benefits that a CSP program will bring you. And at ESTI, we help businesses navigate these transitions, because as I said, I have done this numerous times in the past myself and got a strong practice. So a lot of that efficiency that is needed, or even questions around, oh, what if I'm using software assurance? There is a trick, there is a catch to it. Many customers don't realize that you have to be careful when you're using SA on a CSP program with what type of licensing you need. What if you're upgrading to, let's say, a Business Central subscription, or let's say you are going for larger sized mailboxes? For how does your mailbox archiving look like? Things of that kind, long-term retention, because some organizations retain data for about 25 years or more, because that's the type of their business, their product roadmap and whatnot. So you have to be very careful about how you optimize that licensing to allow for that volume of data either in mailbox or outside the mailbox, especially under the CSP program. And then when you move to, let's say, desktop based licensing versus cloud based licensing, who needs it, whether you have frontline workers or not, things of that kind. So this entire concept is now going to become a critical priority for many organizations, small to medium, who are less than the 2,500 user count. So Microsoft's decision to retire EAs for small enterprises might seem like a disruption, but in my mind, in reality, it's actually an opportunity. Organizations always wanted flexibility, and the CSP program provides that flexibility and better support through trusted partners, because you just cannot become a cloud partner in every area. I mean, there are some smaller providers who might, but if you really want to excel at increasing your relationship with Microsoft, only the good partners get that opportunity, and those who have actually delivered will have the experience to talk about those nuances, do the assessments, understand at a higher level what your overall cost could look like, and make the transition go smoother, bring cost savings, and mostly bring efficiency to your licensing model. So, as we talk about this, I wanted to make sure the podcast today, Tech Tomorrow, addressed on something very critical that is going to start affecting a lot of small organizations whose EAs are coming up for renewal. And if you are one of them, I would love to talk to you, would love to present to you a brief engagement on doing an assessment. And it's nothing complex or anything, but very lightweight, simple to use solutions from a licensing standpoint, and we can help you not only understand the nuances, but we can also help you plan your strategic roadmap as a result of these Microsoft licensing changes. Until my next episode of Tech Tomorrow, stay tuned, and I look forward to bringing some more exciting topics ahead. Thank you.